Hello everyone, this is King Grats here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. And today I'm doing another video for the NBA, and I'm specifically focusing on the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors NBA season officially ended yesterday as they closed out the regular season with a loss to the San Antonio Spurs. And ultimately, the team did not make the playoffs this year as they missed out on the play-in tournament. So as a result, I'm going to be taking a look at the off-season outlook for the Raptors and what does the team look like for the future. So, first of all, if you didn't watch the NBA season this year for Toronto, then to break it down very simply, a share of really tough injuries, along with a combination of a really tough early season schedule and then a kind of soft late season schedule, led to the Raptors finishing the NBA season with a 30-52 record, which led them to finishing 11th in the Eastern Conference with the 7th worst record in the NBA. So the thing is with the Raptors is that you have a pretty solid roster. Guys like Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickly. They also had some decent veteran players, but the team just dealt with a lot of injury problems at the start of the season, and they were playing against a lot of tough opponents, especially big-time contenders, and that allowed them to tank kind of perfectly at the start of the year. At the trade deadline, they didn't make too many moves. They did get rid of most of their veteran free agents that could have been available after the season's end, and they'd also brought in Brandon Ingram from the New Orleans Pelicans, which was kind of an interesting move that definitely surprised a lot of people at the time. At the same time, due to most of the injuries that the team suffered throughout the season, this did allow them to give a lot of the playing time to upcoming rookies and younger players. So, for example, from the 2024 draft, guys like Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shed, and Jonathan Mobo would get a lot more playing time across the season, and this allowed them to definitely grow their game. As well as sophomore Grady Dick saw a greater improvement in his production offensively before his season ultimately was cut short due to injuries. And Ochai Agbaji had a breakout season offensively, with him having some good time until he also was dealing with some injury problems. So if you take a look at the Raptors right now, considering that the next thing that they can look forward to is the NBA draft lottery, you can look at their draft capital here, and they're looking pretty good. They've been relatively consistent, and they've maintained the majority of their picks starting from this season all the way to at least 2031 here. Of course, they don't own their own second round pick because that got traded away a couple years ago, but they do have control over their own first round pick, and they also got Portland's second round pick in this year's draft, part of a trade last season. When it comes to 2026 onwards, they own all of their first and second round picks, including a second round pick from the Lakers. That was part of a previous trade that happened this year as well. So that's a nice little sign for them right there. If you look at their payroll for going into next season, the team is also pretty controlled right now, as they really only have two expiring contracts in Garrett Temple and Chris Boucher. But as you can see, it's relatively consistent going into next season. Garrett Temple also said that he does not intend on retiring, and he's most likely going to be sticking around with the Raptors, probably somewhere close to league minimum, while Chris Boucher most likely is going to be out the door, leaving him to go to free agency. For the core players, Brandon Ingram did sign a contract extension with the Raptors, so he is signed through at least 2027-28, where he's got a player option. And the closest guy that could test free agency is either Jakob Poeltl, who's got a player option for 2026-27, or RJ Barrett, who at the conclusion of the same season can also become a UFA. When it comes to our younger players, the Raptors have control pretty much over everybody for at least the next couple of years. Grady Dick doesn't become an RFA until 2027-28, Jacoby Walter in 2029, as well as guys like Jamal Shed, Jonathan Mobo, and Jamison Battle are all RFAs for not until like 2027-28. So these are going to be really important for the Raptors because these are really big team-friendly deals, and considering the apron world that is the NBA and how important controlling your overall cap hit is in order to help reinforce your team, this is going to be really important for them in the long run. Now, I'm not expecting the Raptors to make anything significant, but depending on how things go for them in the draft, things could really change a lot. If you take a look at the draft lottery boards, even though the Raptors got the 7th worst record in the NBA, this does mean that they have the 7th best odds at landing the top pick in this year's NBA draft at 7.5%. And at the same time, even if they don't get the top pick, they still have a 31.9% chance of landing a pick in the top 4 of the 2025 NBA draft. So they still got a pretty good position. So guys, simply put, the Toronto Raptors are in a decent position that they could very well get out of this rebuilding window pretty quickly and get back into contention, especially considering that the Eastern Conference is kind of, well, let's just say pretty weak right now, as there's a very clear top and a very clear bottom. And with the amount of talent that the Raptors have already accumulated, they very well could exploit the weaknesses of the East and could maybe get back into playoff contention next year. But that's assuming that they want to jumpstart the rebuild even further. Depending on what happens for them in this year's draft lottery, which happens, I believe, on May 12th, then who knows what the team is going to look like for 2025-26. This team could be absolutely really good, or it might just be another year where they're just going to, let it go by and hopefully they tank and get something good in 2026. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this one, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.